Well, I think, at this stage in the season, we know we're fit. It's about making sure you're healthy and making sure that you're fresh. And I think if anything, you want to err on the side of making sure that they're fresh. I think that's the key thing. And sometimes less is more. We played a game, traveled Saturday. We had, the other guys that didn't play reserve games Sunday. Today, if we went to the field, was going to be a light session. So we wanted to break the rhythm. We did a pool workout with the entire team, and then we did a meeting and a video session for an hour. Talk about a few things from the game, talk about obviously the next game with Colorado, frame a bit the last 6 games, to some extent the mentality and mindset that we should have, the position we're in. And so I thought it was a very very good day, in every regard. We broke the rhythm. They didn't have to come to the pitch. They got a good workout in the pool, which will make them fresh for Thursday or for Wednesday, Thursday, and then obviously Friday. And we were able to talk about some things that we needed to talk about from the last game, and more importantly, what we need to do better moving forward.
You talked about players being too casual going into the Chivas game. How do you work on that mentality so it's not something that happens against Colorado?
Well, I think it's actually a problem that a lot of teams have, because you don't always start a game feeling that threat, especially when you're playing a team that perhaps on paper is inferior. We prepared them for what they were going to face. We prepared them for the fact that this was a better team. But when you have a couple thousand fans at the game, and again, until you actually see the team and feel the team, sometimes you're not always in the right spot mentally, and you could see that. I don't think it was our entire group. I think it was a few guys, and we addressed it today. It has been a pattern this year, but it's been a pattern for a lot of teams. It's human nature sometimes to only do enough to get by, or wait until you have to do things to then grab the bull by the horns. It's my experience being around the game that a lot of times you don't turn it up a notch until you have to, and we've seen that a little bit with this team. 13 times we've played from behind. 11 of those times we've come back and gotten a result. Only 2 times have we not. But we don't want to be making a habit of that. And we're capable of putting teams away early. We're capable of playing at a very high level in terms of how we push the game and the urgency we play with, and the pressure and the attacking aggressiveness. You've seen that, to start games sometimes. You've seen that certainly when we've been down goals. You've seen it when we've needed to show it. The reality is we need to show it to start games from here on out, and it's going to be a big factor in us performing well enough to get enough points to make the playoffs.
In terms of mentality, going off that, you said at the beginning of the season that you prefer to have players that hate to lose more than they like to win, and that certainly seems to have happened with the number of times you come back, ties you have, compared to losses. How do you breed that mentality, and also how does that bode for you guys going forward?
Well, I think we have that mentality. I mean, obviously, you look at the fact that we haven't lost many games. We're not satisfied certainly with the amount of draws we had, but in the majority of those games, we salvaged losses by coming from behind. So I think the key thing is not so much that the key thing again is to just start on the front foot, to start more proactively, to get up in games. We've 13 times scored the first goal, and we've not lost. We've scored the first goal. In 28 games, 6 times we've scored the first goal in the first half. We need to do that more. And in those 6 games, we haven't lost. We're 5-1. So I think the common thread in our best performances this year was when we started games proactive, aggressive, and we didn't wait until we needed to turn it up, but we turned it up right from the beginning. And so that's going to be our focus moving forward, is making sure that we do that right from the start.
When you look at, you were saying that it's a pattern of these unfocused, but if that's
not a pattern of unfocus, no. a pattern of not starting the first halves as well as we're capable of starting the first halves. A pattern of, you know, letting the game and being behind dictate to some extent our urgency and tempo, and not perhaps feeling as threatened as we need to feel. I think it's a product of us having some success and showing that we can perform well in games against anybody. When you look at that evidence, you know, there's no doubt we have confidence. But to some extent, maybe we've been too confident at times. And at this point, you know, we need to have a bit of that healthy tension because every game is important from here on out, and we need points.
So, is there not among some of the players that healthy tension? That's what you saw, or you're referring to from last week going forward?
No, I think again it's just human nature. Sometimes it happens when you don't start games, especially in a situation where you don't have a big crowd and you're playing a team that's ninth on the table. Sometimes it's human nature to not start the game as aggressive and hungry as you should start.
Is that something that you would be looking to the players to do that in the locker room? Because I mean, you can talk until you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But
No question. I mean, I think it's again a part of being a professional player. You start games professional, and being professional is being hungry and being focused and knowing what's at stake. And you know, they know that, and we've talked about it, and they know that we prepared them to face a team that was going to be a decent team. You know, a team that wasn't going to roll over. You know, and a team that we needed to play well against. And the good thing is that the response that we show when we are down a goal is very positive, and we know what we're capable of. If we weren't able to find that extra gear when we needed to, that'd be an even worse problem. But the key is finding that right mentality and that right gear right from the beginning.
how do you find that? I mean, is that the,
I think it's
dilemma you're facing?
it's coaching, man. You know, it's coaching. It's getting the right players. It's creating a culture. I mean, you know, we're 8 months into creating that culture. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen overnight. We're making progress with it, but you don't automatically go from a team that's never in the playoff race this time of year to a team that's in the playoff race this time of year. It's not easy. It's not an easy process. That's why we had an hour meeting today to address it, to make sure that they understand to be a team that's a realistic contender to make the playoffs every year, to be in a position to win MLS Cup. These are games that we need to come out with more urgency, and you know, there's no doubt about it that we will correct it.
But they were at the playoffs about this time of year in 2011. But I guess you were saying different players, different team, different mentality.
Were they in this position above the playoff line? No, they weren't.
But they were in the playoff race in terms of they were having games that they needed to win in order to put themselves in the playoffs.
Not in this position, no.
Well, not at
Yeah.
fifth, but
Yeah,
they were
that's
still
what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they weren't. So
we're gonna go back and forth about this because I mean,
Yeah.
I remember in 2011 they were needing to win games. I think until the last week of the season or something like that. Then they got eliminated. So,
right, but it was a game of catch up. You know, they've never been above the red line this late in the season.
Okay.
So we just saw the debut of Yuri out there. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw from him, how he's sort of fitting in with the team?
You know, I actually thought that he looked relatively good in the game. You know, he made some runs. Obviously, there were a few times where he didn't get the ball. He had a few, you know, touches. He actually made a great run where he was on sides, if you watch the tape, and could have been in on goal if obviously the call went our way. You know, there were a couple other moments where he got behind. So, you know, again, 20 minutes, hard to completely tell. You know, but you know, I thought it was certainly a good step in the right direction. So we'll continue to bring him along. We'll continue to evaluate, you know, his fitness, continue to integrate him into the team, and but you know. where he can start the game and play 90 minutes. We're hoping that he's in that position by the end of the week. He wasn't in that position going into this game. We knew he was good for about 45 minutes. So I'm hoping he's 100% and capable of starting this next game. It'll depend on the next 3 days.
Andrew John Baptiste makes the 24 list this year. What kind of growth have you seen from him this year?
Well, it's his first real year where he's played consistent minutes, game in and game out. I think he's really made a lot of steps, positive steps in the right direction. Still has a ways to go. He's had some lapses. He'd be the first to admit that. There have been some games where he's made mistakes, like young players do. It's a part of the process, learning to be a consistent central defender where you're reliable. But we feel good about where he's at, but obviously he's got some things to improve in as well.
I was just going to say, any update on Picking in terms of where he's at? Is it still?
Picquion is hopefully going to be training this week, but we're not sure. We'll have to evaluate his fitness. We'll have to evaluate his health as well.
Thanks, Kevin.